That's right.
But
anyways, you ready down over there, Leon?
But don't you
We're
think
ready?
this might have been preparation?
Okay, so we're ready, right?
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Asaph Cafe. Welcome to Asaph Cafe. And through the magic of green screen technology, we're on the set of Picard, the latest Star Trek film, you know? And on my left, affectionately, our aging rocker, Emmett.
Yes.
He's here with us. And then on my further left, Mr. Scott Ranf, the host of Wake Up Missoula.
Hi.
So this is a beautiful backdrop on the set of Picard, and Scott's going to guide us through it because I haven't seen it yet.
Nor have I.
Haven't seen it yet. And I think, how many episodes have they done?
So far, they just dropped episode 4 today.
Yeah, see, just 4 episodes so far.
Sorry to timestamp things, but yeah. We're in the middle of February. This is the day before Valentine's Day.
That's right.
And
I
think this is very... Yeah. Oh, you're going to serenade us?
Yeah, we'll do some love songs. But
Laser gun.
First, Emmett, you want to start us off?
Heavenly Father, bless our soda pop and our time together in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen, you know.
That's a tradition to pray, so...
Oh, no. I know. I've seen your show.
Yeah.
The people...
So, yeah. I think people would be disappointed that Emmett didn't say the start of the prayer there. So anyway, we're going to talk about Picard, and it's Valentine's Day tomorrow.
And I'm the leading expert on Picard because I've seen all episodes except for the newest one that just dropped today. So
do they have a brand new theme song for the?
Yeah,
Picard
they have a whole brand new everything. It's very like it's intrigue and all that stuff. But and then they have a little elements of the old school Star Trek just kind of thrown in there just for a little nostalgia as well. Because that's what a lot of these shows are.
Okay.
They give you something new, or they bring back something old, something that you could get an audience of people who grew up with Picard or old Star Trek and everything.
So they have it's the same actor, obviously.
Patrick Stewart is reprising his role as Jean-Luc Picard.
Okay.
Hence the name Picard.
Right.
And it's not a episodic type series. It's an ongoing series. Or think of it as like a 8-hour, 9-hour kind of like movie where everything's kind of building towards a single goal and an arc. And kind of like what they did with like the Borg with the Next Generation, where they have them in the background and then they have a major battle and then they bring it back a little bit more, and they have other stories. But this one's more about being able to thread. And I really like how they do that with some series where it's just like everything is like all the episodes are interconnected. And you know, back in the day, they had like 20 plus episodes of the Next Generation, all that stuff, and each episode was very episodic. It was just like this happened, and the next week it's something completely different, but with the same characters.
Well, it went on for several seasons, Star Trek: The Next Generation, more than the original series.
But this isn't like seasonal thing; it's just like an episode.
This is this might be just like a one and done season. Okay. They haven't determined whether or not they want to do like a whole other second season.
How many of the actors from the Next Generation are in this series?
Well, so far they had original actor for Commander Data.
Yeah, that was Brent Spiner, I believe was his name.
Patrick Stewart.
Okay.
And I think the newest episodes they're gonna have Jonathan Frakes.
Yeah, that's the actor that played Commander Riker.
And then his wife. Like in the show wife, you know, Tasha Yar. Was it Tasha Yar? I don't know.
I thought it was Deanna Troi. Wasn't it
Troy?
Deanna Troi? Yeah.
That's right.
The counselor lady?
Yeah. She and him ended up together, even though the TV series kind of alluded that Worf and her would end up together. And then the movies just said, okay, she's with Frakes.
Oh, okay. I got it. I get it.
Or number one. Which is pretty cool. So anyways, back to the Picard series. I actually somewhat enjoy it. I mean, like, because when they came out with Discovery, I thought it was just like, it's like I understand where they're coming from, and they haven't exactly found their footing, exactly what they want to do with this series, and they're trying to be like edgy, their own kind of grittier version of it.
Yeah, they're not doing any political correctness stuff or anything like that, right? Okay.
Because you know, Star Trek at that time was a reflection of the time in which we live in, about how we kind of like always kind of react and act and stuff like that. Like Picard is much like how they do with the Star Trek series.
Okay, yeah.
Where it's like it is of its time. One of the big things about this particular series is it follows Picard on his journey to recover Data's legacy. Because spoiler alert, Data died in one of the movies.
I know that.
And in this one, Data inadvertently had daughters.
Yeah.
That's impossible for an android.
Let me explain. As an android, they used his technology to create his children, which alludes to like he had a painting of what he called his daughter, and they used that as a reference point to make his daughter.
I see.
or daughters. And that's part of the crux of the series, is that he has identical daughters who are built from his technology. And that's kind of like the whole kind of like, this is how like legacy works. And then of course Picard is continuing on and trying to, comes out of retirement, that kind of thing, because he runs the wine vineyard.
Yeah.
Because he's retired, he's not doing Starfleet anymore.
Okay.
Oh, you mean the wine vineyard back home in France, Lamar, France? Okay, yeah.
Because that's the
his brother died. Yeah, his brother and his family died.
Yeah.
Because in one of the movies, Star Trek, what was it? Was it Generations or was it someone else or something else?
It was Generations.
Or something where he
there was a fire, and
killed his whole family. Yeah.
Killed his brother and his son.
Yeah.
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 I remember that episode. That was pretty sad.
So I mean, and then of course in the new series, it's a very slow burn. It's getting to that point. It kind of feels like, you know, how like have a pilot and you're introducing all the characters as you go along, trying to build a story and have everything interconnected. And you know, it's think of it as like an extremely long movie.
And you mentioned the Romulans were killed off in this series.
Yes, in this series they actually allude to some of the J.J. Abrams. And the only thing that they did is that there's a supernova that killed the Romulan planet.
Whoa.
And so the Starfleet, they said that they were going to save the, Romulans, refugees and all that stuff. But then at the last minute backed out, which caused a catastrophic near extinction of the Romulan people. And so, Picard being, the basically kind of the envoy to their culture, he has a couple refugees of his own working at the vineyard with him. And so it kind of, there's a lot of intertwining things about, like, there's always like a lot of mistrust between Starfleet and the Romulans, and the Romulans don't have an empire anymore, so therefore they're not a threat. And one of the reasons why he quit Starfleet is because Starfleet turned their back on the Romulans. And they cave into the pressure, being like, you can't help the Romulans, they're our enemies. And there's like, that's against what Starfleet's all about. We have to protect life. Life is life. And so that's part of the background political intrigue and blah, 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 all that stuff. There's a lot going on in this series, and now we're getting to the point in the series where they're actually having the adventure, and they're actually in space. They took like 3 episodes for him to say, engage.
Yeah.
I see.
Are there any space battles yet or not?
Like I said, the first 3 episodes of him actually getting to space. So they're going to get there, and they're going to have a lot of stuff. Apparently, there's a Vulcan samurai. It's going to be pretty interesting.
That's one of the new characters, the Vulcan samurai character?
So Picard is the only constant character that's in there. He's the crux. He's the one that brings everyone together. He's not going to... Like, one of the things that they kind of alluded to is that they're not bringing back a lot of the old characters from the back of the series. They might have guest stars, because they already proved that they're going to do a guest star with John Frakes, who is number 1. So he's actually directing one of the episodes too. So there's a lot going on.
Interesting.
It's just a new series. A lot of people who say that the Discovery series is kind of like they really like Picard. A lot of old fans
I've only seen the prequel to Discovery because it was on CW. But it's not on cable, and it's not on ABC.
And that's the same thing with this Picard series, because it's another streaming source and all that stuff like that.
Why can't they just put it on Spectrum cable, or even do something really good? Put it on ABC, like, Star Trek The Next Generation used to be, or Deep Space Nine. ABC, we've got Picard, we've got, Enter, or whatever it was called. What was it? Discovery? Star Trek Discovery? Yeah.
Yeah, the Discovery is the newest one, which is the prequel series to Kirk. Because they had another actor who played a young Spock. They did another kind of like Spock treatment. So, I don't know.
I thought the prequel to Kirk was a series called Starship Enterprise.
Yeah, that was another prequel.
Yeah, but this is a prequel, another type of prequel.
Yeah,
I see.
But in this one, I really like it because it continues on the story of Picard. It's like the next generation.
That's interesting, yeah.
Because everyone's always said, let's live in the Kirk kind of era where he could have been alive in that era, Star Trek universe, and then everyone kind of just like, okay, because I think it was after Genesis, the last Star Trek Next Generation movie, people were just like, okay, we're kind of over Star Trek.
Yeah. And besides, let's face it about those writers, they can get writer's block. All the fans always want a new Star Trek.
So they have 20 plus writers for each episode.
Yeah, but it's like writer's block. I mean, like Star Trek Deep Space Nine was horrible. They're putting that on BBC America, and that show, except for a few episodes of Space Wars, it's so boring. It's just the most uninteresting stories ever.
And then, of course, what was the other one? The one where they're on the space station?
That's Deep Space Nine.
No. Deep Space Nine is when they're trapped in outer space and they have to crab all the way back.
No, that's Voyager.
Voyager, okay.
Deep Space Nine is where they're on Deep Space Nine space station. Yeah, that was so boring. But Voyager was another boring show too.
Yeah. Well,
but Deep Space Nine was also
very
boring.
much like, you know, like The Next Generation was so big when it happened that they branched off into these other series in which you actually would see a lot of the Next Generation folks reappear.
Well, you know, Voyager
wasn't Worf in Deep Space Nine?
Yes, he was. Yes, he transferred on as same with Cisco. I think the chief engineer, whatever name. Yeah.
Lamar Burton. Lamar Burton.
I don't know, but
reprised his role.
Well, you know, I was going to say Voyager had a happy ending. It did.
It did.
Well, I went on a Voyager binge and I watched the entire series.
Oh, they wrapped it up nicely?
Yeah, it was, but how it started...
Because Deep Space Nine just kind of felt like it could, like...
No, they got home, but here's how they got home on Voyager. And I really liked this.
Yeah.
You know, they were 75,000 light years from the Earth, and so they were trapped way out on the other side of the galaxy, and they couldn't get home. And if they had gone at top warp speed, it would have taken them 75 years to get home.
Yeah.
But how they got home, how it ended, it started, they were home, but they were like 30 years older. The characters were older.
Oh, yeah, I remember that,
And so Captain Janeway had retired.
Yeah.
And she wanted to go back in time to get them home sooner than how long it took them. Like, they were 30 years older. And at the end of the series, she succeeded.
Nice.
She broke protocol with the rules with Starfleet, and one of her crewmen, who was an ensign, who now is captain, had the authority to stop her, but he allowed her to go through with it.
Yeah.
Because
the series is really good about having that kind of like you have parental figures slash you're like your blood versus your honor parents, like the ones that you look up to.
Yeah.
Like kind of like because Janeway, like she's a great actress. She's done a lot of great stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like she was in that show Orange is the New Black, and I highly suggest you see her in there. She has.
I covered that on your show.
She has a great Russian accent. She did such a great job on that, and also she was in Genesis for a blurb.
And she was in Ryan's Hope when she was a young woman.
She's honestly such a great actress.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think she should get all the roles.
Absolutely.
She's pretty much. I would have to say that she's very much on par with Picard in the sense of like just kind of like the strength of acting and just like the chops.
And what I wanted to point out too is the older Captain Janeway, when she goes back in time, she sees herself as a young woman. So there was this clash.
Right. There's always has to be a clash.
Yeah, there was a clash between the older Janeway and the younger Janeway. Yeah. And the older one was saying, "Look, I'm going to get you home sooner than it'll take you."
I always
but she dies.
They did the same thing with The Next Generation, where they had an old Picard on the farm, where like where he went to space, and he kind of did the correlation between the first episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation, the latest episode, and then of course Far Future, just kind of like colliding them all together for a wrapped up, finished kind of deal.
I remember that
and
one.
so the older one dies, but she doesn't really die because the younger one is still there. So they got home.
Yeah, the older
way
one
quicker. And Starfleet accepted them, told them to come on home at the end of the series. There.
See, that's a nice thing about like I always notice that with series that you have recurring characters, you can't kill them off. I mean, unless the character, like, there's kind of like a contract dispute where they have to kill off the character in a way where they can never bring him back. They always, when you kill off a character in an episode, it's like, oh no, that person's dead. It was like, really? They're going to be back in the next episode. You have to figure out how they come back by the end of the episode. It's like, actually, their heartbeat was slowed down to a pulse where it seemed like they were dead the whole time. So, don't you just hate it?
Yeah,
sometimes?
I do.
Some series just don't have like the chutzpah to really just kind of go for it. Because I've seen, but that's the kind of world we live in now, is where you can actually have those series where you can kill off a character and have repercussions throughout the series.
Yeah.
Like you actually have that character in that series killed off, but still be able to use them further on.
Well, what I did not like about Voyager, they were on the other side of the galaxy. They could have done so much action and adventure and met new aliens. And like we're coming across this new planet and all new aliens and weird things like giant jellyfish trying to sting them.
Right.
Or new empires trying to blast them. Or like insect aliens with compound eyes that want to do medical experiments on them from the planet Variandian. And they're they didn't have any of that. They just warmed on trying to get home, and they wandered through corridors very nicely. But it was boring.
Defend that they did deal with some aliens and some episodes, you know.
Some aliens in some episodes rather than new aliens and excitement in every episode, and they should have had a lot more space battles and a lot more drama. They could have really done it a lot better.
I see your point there too, but they did get home. They got home, and then Starfleet welcomed them back at the end, and then it ended.
You know
that
what?
Was pretty good.
Do you remember Star Trek: The Next Generation?
Yeah.
Do you remember the first season when it was brand spanking, and then they did an excellent show, one of my favorites, Where No Man Has Gone Before. Do you remember when there was this guy who wanted to do some transwarp type of thing and speed? Somehow, and there was this character called, what was that character? The Traveler. That unusual alien. Finally, after they pushed some stuff in the warp, they went through 2 galaxies and ended up in a 3rd.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and at max warp speed, it would take about 400 years to get home or something.
But then they went through their same portal that allowed them to go there in the first place to push them through there. It was kind of like a wormhole.
Yeah, exactly. And then eventually they went into this fascinating dimension, and when I first saw it, I went, oh, fascinating! Because Captain Picard said, but where is this place? And it was another dimension where thoughts became reality.
Yeah,
What I would have done, though, is I would have had the Enterprise explore this new galaxy for a whole season. Then at the end of that, another season, then have them go into the other dimension as kind of what do you call it? The end of a season finality, and then they get home and the first start of the new season. But they said Starfleet.
Yeah, that's what a Brave series would do.
Yes.
Is that they would have a completely new story for the whole overarching season.
Yes.
But with a lot of these old series is that they have to keep them very simple for audiences. And because I really hate it when series treat their audience like they're idiots.
I hate that. Yeah.
It's like you don't need to explain the same thing 5 different times.
Exactly.
Because that's what a lot of shows do. You have the scientist who's explained it to you, and then you have another person who tells you just like it's like a golf ball going through a thimble. I'm like, what? And
I know.
It's like, oh, that totally makes sense.
It's Star Trek: The Next Generation. While it was the next best to the one with Captain Kirk, it still could have done a lot better.
Yeah.
I hated it when Captain Picard said, let's just get home. If we can make it, Starfleet can send a pure science vessel to investigate this new galaxy, except they were an exploratory vessel. It was their job to explore new things.
Right.
Man, if I had been the head of Starfleet, I would have had Jean-Picard disciplined so fast he wouldn't have known. That makes me mad.
And then what they do with what we're talking about the Picard series as well, is that you actually have to watch a lot of the Next Generation to kind of see, because there's so many Easter eggs. They allude to so many different things.
Yeah.
Like the character quality of Picard is intact.
Yeah.
You have all these other things, and they explain exactly why they're not using the original cast of the Next Generation. Because he's just because he left Starfleet, and he also criticized Starfleet after the fact for not being the Starfleet he remembered.
Yeah.
And then Starfleet's like, where did you get off?
Yeah.
Because there's been episodes where he has to go against Starfleet.
Oh yeah.
Starfleet's been corrupt themselves. And he has to straighten them out. And that's
Is Star Trek corrupted in the series?
No.
Okay.
It's just complicated.
Yeah.
Because they had justification in their own right to not rescue the Romulans when the supernova happened, destroying their planet, and that was because of all the other cultures and all the other people in the Federation threatening to pull out and being like, we will not be part of this Federation if you save the Romulans. They've enslaved, they've destroyed, they've attacked all of our people, and now you want to save them. And then the Starfleet chickened out.
Yeah.
and they chose not to take the fleet to save the Romulans.
Yeah.
The Romulans, you know, there's a huge population died.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, they had star capability to leave, but the whole, you know, supernova thing was happening so quickly that they couldn't build the ships needed.
I just think these newer series have been too safe. And like I said, too simple. Star Trek was supposed to be a series that lived on the edge. Dangerous ideas and very, very exciting stories, and had took risks and chances.
Yeah, a lot of the series in the '60s took a lot of risks. Star Trek, Twilight Zone.
Yes, I love
Twilight
that.
Zone.
Fantastic.
Anthology series where each episode you had no idea where you were going to get.
That was fantastic.
Is this going to be another time travel series where you go back in time in the Old West, or the Old West was going to come to the future?
Yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah.
I really liked it because it was probably really easy for them production-wise. I was thinking about this kind of stuff like behind the scenes, where like in Twilight Zone they used a lot of cowboy sets. And they've had so many cowboy sets because that was like John Wayne was like a huge deal. They had all those cowboy sets already pre-made and everything.
Yeah, I love
just like
Twilight Zone.
It's like, so you Twilight Zone people, what are you doing? It was like, oh, we're just gonna go over to a neighboring set and we're just gonna film a cowboy science fiction series where like somebody just went back in time and things happened. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then there's one where it's just like, okay, we're gonna be in an apartment and the sun's getting closer to the earth and it's gonna burn everyone alive.
I loved that episode.
Where they're just like these two women who are like burning up, it's getting too hot.
That was fantastic.
And though it ended, everybody died. Boom.
Yep.
It was just like they died, but they at the end they kind of learned to like kind of get along together at the very end to be like, we're the last two people around, there's bigger things out there for us two to fight. And that was kind of like the theme that they had there. My personal favorite episode of the Twilight Zone is where the guy is able to trade with people anything. He's like, I'm going to trade you 2 years of my life for $10,000. He's like, here, you're young. You have all the years ahead of you. If you give me 2 years, he traded his youth for riches, and then and through the riches he paid young people. It's like, I'll give you $100, $200 for a year of your life.
I don't remember that one. I might have seen that one, but that sounds very good. But...
Yeah, and then he had a broken arm at one point, and the guy had a cold, and just like, oh, I hate colds. I've had this cold for a long time. And it's like, I'll trade you my cold for that broken arm.
They were taking risks back then. It's set on the Outer Limits. Do you remember the old Outer Limits from the 60s?
No.
Fantastic.
Didn't they try too hard to be Twilight Zone?
No, by the same creator, but it was more science fiction.
Was that Gene Roddenberry?
No, it was not. It was the same creator of the Twilight Zone, the Outer Limits. There's nothing wrong with your television set. Do not attempt to adjust the picture. We are controlling transmission. I have all the series on DVD. I've hardly...
Oh, really?
Yeah, but they had aliens and aliens trying to control people's minds and people screaming and really frightening outer space stuff about dangerous aliens.
And then they had like the Monster of the Week, and because it was an anthology series. Where just
Monster of the Week, yes. But it was really good, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen those.
It took real chances, and I loved it. It was bold, but these new series like Picard or Next Generation or Voyager are not taking any chances.
Yeah.
It's safe, predictable.
Right.
That's not science fiction.
Well, Picard might.
Picard might actually change that.
I hope
Discovery
so.
didn't really kind of change a lot of those things, but Picard, I showed one of the scenes from the episode where it kind of like summed up the series kind of in an interview. Where a lot of exposition, because when you're reintroducing a series, you have to like give a lot of people too much information to be like, remember this thing, this thing, this thing, this thing, this thing. We want to explain a little bit more of this, so people are kind of all on the same page exactly what the world that we're living in at this particular time.
Yeah.
I have all the Twilight Zone's old ones on DVD and the new ones. Yeah, I've got them all. Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you do get a chance to see this series, I suggest it.
Yeah.
I think it's a good spiritual successor of the Next Generation series. You have.
And you were comparing it with the Star Trek Discovery, weren't you? You said.
Well, because it's made from the same platform.
Okay.
And they and of course Patrick Stewart. He was very much like, I didn't really want to go back to any Picard series. People have approached me over the last 15, 20 years wanting me to be Picard for one thing or another, just like a kind of revival series. Yeah. He waited for the right time. And I think he waited a good amount of time to bring this back because his whole purpose of this series is that he's trying to find Data's daughter.
Yes.
And that was like because it's legacy. It's like he has his legacy cemented in history. Even though like because it's like the whole kind of legacy is like some people see legacy in their children.
Oh yeah.
And his legacy is based on his reputation and everything like that.
Interesting.
And
Okay.
yeah,
you got that.
And they do have the laser battles.
That's good.
So like one of Data's daughters is like she didn't know she was a robot or something like that, and so she gets into a fight with a bunch of people as well. So
And she has super strength, probably, huh?
yeah, she's a robot. Yeah, android synthetic life, and yeah. So there's definitely a lot going on in this series. Of course, you know, there's the main thing that with Picard, where he's just trying to find Data's daughters. And then the other part of the series is that other people are using Data's daughters to do something with evil, blah blah intent and all that stuff. You know, there's the evil Romulans that are still there. There's apparently there's a secret police of the Romulans, which is pretty cool. Because they're the ones with the lasers, and the Romulans is just like, does this gun have a stun? It's like Romulans don't have stun. It's just like boom.
Yeah.
It's like hot, nice. Because you know they're very warlike race, and they still are. You know, they're not perfect, but it's pretty interesting kind of seeing like how like Picard lives with 2 Romulan refugees. They're a married couple. They just help him with the vineyard, and they're just like he's like, yeah, I like you guys. You're pretty cool. And they're very well acted, and you know they're just normal people.
Half hour's gone by already. This just goes by so quickly, you know.
It really does.
When we're doing this, half hour already.
So you have any questions about this series? Anything that you want to know a little bit more about it?
Yeah, how many space battles have there been yet? I would have started off with a space battle. You know, I love Space Wars.
Well, you do see that Mars gets attacked, and that's where they're building the ships for the Romulan refugees before
That's cool.
all the ships get destroyed and they can't save them. So there's that huge battle where the synthetics get hacked, and then they turn on the people on the Mars base and destroy them. So there's that kind of space battle where it's more like a space attack.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting.
they'll have more stuff later on for sure.
Is this Discovery, is that still on, or did they stop doing
Yeah,
that?
well, they finished season 2, and I think they'll be doing season 3 pretty soon.
Okay.
'Cause
What do you think of Discovery, though?
It started interesting, and then I kind of got bored of it. Then I got interested in it again, and then I got bored of it. And then they had a really strong finish to season 1, which I really liked. And then they left you on a cliffhanger where it's like, is that Spock? And then like the season 2 started off with like Spock being like, he's like, what's wrong with you, Spock? It's like, my brain is broken. And then there's like, we got to figure out what's wrong with Spock. And then they fix his brain. It's like, oh, this whole thing with his brain being broken is the thing of this time travel and the blah 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 other thing. You know, like how they always have like things like that. It's just like wait, this isn't the Spock I remember. It's like, oh, it's because his brain has been messed with by outside beings or whatever, and then they move on with that. But the one thing I did really like about this series is that they go into the other dimension where Starfleet's the evil Starfleet.
Interesting.
Because they always do that all the time. It's like, it's an alternate dimension where people are evil, man.
Well, that would have been from Mirror Mirror from that was a very good one. Yeah.
And they bring back a lot of and they bring a lot of those old elements from there where Starfleet was an empire and the former captain of the Discovery or whatever, she was the leader of the Federation or the Empire at that time. And there's just a lot of other things going on here. They did a lot of good acting. The bad guy in the Discovery season 1 was really good. Season 2, it's a robot trying to learn everything and then destroy everything.
Interesting.
That was the concept of season 2. That was like the whole kind of crux of the whole arc. There was a really good episode where one of the alien characters discovers that what was part of his getting older, you know, like kind of like becoming a butterfly or whatever, but not not a butterfly, but still like that was him getting ready to be prepared to die in his culture. But it turns out that after that process happened, he realizes like, wait a minute, my whole culture, my whole life was a lie. I have to tell my people to save their lives from the other organism that's on our planet that like feeds on us, that eats us, because they're like shrimp. shrimp humanoid kind of things. It's very interesting how they did it, and it's really well acted. I gotta give a lot of props to Doug Jones. Doug Jones is an actor who's known for putting on layers upon layers of makeup where you never recognize him, and he's a really good actor. He's super skinny. He's double jointed in pretty much all his limbs, so he can. He's a contortionist too.
Okay.
So I looked up some of his stuff. And I suggest you guys look him up too because he's such a great actor, amazing actor, and he's the one that puts on all the makeup. It's all the monsters in a lot of movies from Guillermo del Toro, the guy who directed the Hellboy movies. But yeah, Doug Jones, great actor. You never see him without makeup on. But he's like one of the characters who's really good about getting into character based on what he makeup and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you think they'd ever do a prequel where Picard is on the Stargazer? And it was a old
Before
thing.
He was captain?
Yes, of the Enterprise. He used to be on the Stargazer. Remember the episode when?
Yeah, I remember that. If they don't do that, maybe watching this episode.
Is this the one where he had hair?
Somebody might think of it.
It would have been the one where he had hair. Well, actually, remember Scotty was revived from an old space.
Yeah, he was from the past, and he was there. Then he just kind of hung out with them.
Exactly, and he was talking. And they were talking about Picard was drinking with him and saying, "I used to command a ship called the Stargazer, my first ship. It was an old thing that was always falling apart. In many ways, my new Enterprise is far superior."
Well, because they had the newest ship.
Exactly. And then he said,
was it the Enterprise
yes,
B?
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Or Enterprise C, I think it was.
And then they went to the Enterprise E when they destroyed the old one in Generations.
Yeah. But it would have been great if they had a prequel of where he commanded the Stargazer. Younger Picard commanded the Stargazer. All the lasers, all the space wars, all the action, and make it really action-oriented.
I can see that the new Picard series at some point is going to introduce another Enterprise at some point, that he's going to cross paths with a new Enterprise, and it's going to be like a whole kind of episode where he's just like,
that's almost like...
And it's like, let me tell you something, youngster. Yeah. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
In my day...
That almost sounds like that episode, Enterprise Yesterday on the Next Generation.
Yeah, because that was the, Enterprise C or something.
Yeah, they went into the future or something like that.
Yes.
When they were about to be killed.
And that's the one
it changed the whole timeline.
Oh, that was excellent.
They had to go back to fix that.
Right.
And Guinan's character was the only one that was not affected.
That was fascinating because it had space wars, because they were warring on Empire.
It was the world where, because they changed the timeline, and it was like the bad guys were winning.
Yes.
And then they had to go back in time because that was the one turning point that provided
And the Enterprise was a ship
the
of
status
war
quo
instead
of the
of
show.
peace to,
Yeah, because
And Tasha Yar was alive again.
Yes.
Oh yeah, because she went back in time and then she stayed back in time, and then she had a kid with a Romulan.
Yes.
And then the Romulan version of her, which is played by the same actress, was the bad guy.
Yeah.
And it was we just bring her back for a couple episodes. She was very proficient in the first season, but then we just killed her off. And then that's when Worf became the main security guard. I mean, I kind of saw what they were going with it, but season 1 of most shows are really trying to find their footing.
I know.
Yeah.
And then once they jump into season 2 and it's good, it's great.
Yeah.
There's rarely any series that I've ever thought that the season 1 was the best season. Because they really know how to amp it up and everything. I don't know. Probably the one series I'm really excited for is Better Call Saul.
I don't know that one.
It's a show that runs on TV. It's on AMC, where they have The Walking Dead on all those series. And they did a show called Breaking Bad. And so they made a prequel series called Better Call Saul, which is based off of a criminal lawyer, not a lawyer. It's a lawyer for the criminals, but he also does criminal things to get criminals off.
Oh, I see.
And I really like how the series goes about him starting off as a good lawyer, turning into more of a morally flexible lawyer later on. And I think they do a really good job telling this story where it honestly had a really strong first season, which ended with brother versus brother starting off. The second season, which him trying not to do bad things, but he does bad things for good reasons. And then as we go along, we learn that he's now doing bad things for selfish reasons. And like they go, I don't know, it's a really complex study about how far some people are willing to go for the ones that they love.
Huh.
And that's what I like about the series. Yeah. But if you get a chance to watch Better Call Saul, it's really good. And season 5's finally coming out because it's been like 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And what I like about some series is that you have that expectation where a series is supposed to come out every single year at the same time, at the same date. Nowadays, it's like some people are taking their time with writing and making sure that everything's crossed the T's, dotted all the I's before they jump into the new season, which I'd rather have a 2-year wait rather than the next season pop the next year and be completely garbage. So that's what they've been doing now lately, where a season's really good about having overarching kind of themes and really building to it. And Netflix and streaming stuff, regardless of how, since most people can't watch it, it's like, oh, it's not on cable, I can't see all this stuff. They have a lot more opportunities to have great shows, just as much as they have opportunities to have terrible shows.
Well, with all this Netflix stuff and everything, I'm surprised they even have television these days now. Seems like
I'm
TV
glad they do.
would be
Well, the next big thing that they'll probably
and Netflix and everything.
It's all going to the point where it's going to be like another cable company, where streaming, it's going to be the stream source. It's where it's going to be like the new cable, where you just buy it, and then it's very easy to use. Where you're on the TV, you pay a flat rate every month, and you have Netflix, Hulu, and all that stuff, and you just hit the button and you watch the movie or show that you want to watch at any time. You don't need to wait for it to appear at 6 p.m. I mean, hey, you can watch it at 6 p.m. if you want to, but if the episode drops that day, you can watch it at any time of the day. And you're just like, oh man, I missed it because I wasn't home at 6:30. But in this case, streaming is nice for that value of being able to watch it at any time. And plus, you can watch old episodes too, all the time. That's why a lot of people like binge watching is such a big thing nowadays. Where people it's like when the show drops, it's like the whole entire season. It's like season 1 dropped of this series, and you can watch the whole thing. Yeah. And they're going back to that whole kind of episodic where they release every week. Okay. So there's no commercials. You just watch the episode as it is.
And it just goes to the next one.
And and that's what they did with another show, The Mandalorian, which is the Star Wars series that came out just this last year. A lot of people loved it. A lot of great things about it. I have nothing bad to say about this series. They started off very much episodic, where it's much like remember Kung Fu with Robert Carradine? Yeah. That was very much about exactly kind of how I feel.
I'm gonna play the theme to that.
I have not seen Mandalorian because I don't get internet.
Right.
They really should just put it on Disney Channel or ABC so we can watch it on cable.
Right. Because it is a Disney property. So yeah, and then what they did with The Mandalorian is that they released a new episode every week. It was like once a week they would release an episode of it. So they give you in pieces. And we're so used to and a lot of people complain about being I just want the whole series right now. But honestly, there's a more of appreciation to have that wait to build up the tension that you need to watch the show. Because if you watch the whole show in just one fell sitting, you miss out on so much things that you can rewatch and kind of linger on. When you watch something, you should be able to kind of settle with it. It's like when you read a good book and you're just I'm going to jump right into the next Harry Potter book, and then you just never stop reading it, and then you're so overloaded with all the information that you don't actually dwell on something. Yeah. So it's nice to have that ability to dwell and to really think about something after something happens.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It gives you a lot to think about.
It does. Well, I'm going to have to tune in and start catching up a little bit, too. Did you see the Lost in Space series?
Yeah.
What did you think of that?
It's okay. Yeah.
It was certainly different from the television series.
Oh, yeah.
Way different.
Wait, I thought you were talking about the television series from the 60s.
No, this is a brand new reboot series called Lost in Space.
Is it on cable?
It's on Netflix.
You see, I don't get Netflix.
I have Netflix at home.
So you did watch Lost in Space?
I did see Lost in Space.
Did you watch season 1 and season 2?
No, I just looked at the first few episodes to get an idea of it.
Did you...
I did like it. It just took a little getting used to. It was
because with Lost in Space, the series revolved around the same family with a lot of different adventures around them. And this series is the thing I hate about it personally is that you have the family and they're trying to survive a certain situation, and then it goes back into like the whole large group of the community with everybody else. And it's like it kind of like it pulls into like it's like here's the narrow scope of these main characters, and then let's widen it out with like 50 other characters that are just randomly in the background.
I wonder if they were trying to get more modern or inclusive.
Yeah,
you know,
I felt
because
like
Penny Robinson, isn't she an African American girl now?
She's adopted.
Yeah, adopted, and Dr. Smith is a woman in this series.
She's a very she's
real evil lady.
Yeah, she's really good. Yeah. I like because Parker Posey.
Yeah,
she's a great actress. I gotta love her. We gotta give her a lot of props.
Oh yeah,
because she's replacing Dr. Smith, who's always been kind of like
yeah,
and she does actually a very clever job about how she kind of inserts herself in there, and she doesn't take herself too seriously, and she enjoys being the character that she is.
I noticed that the theme song was the same theme song, just more modernized. You know?
Yeah.
Something like this.
Yeah.
Well, because they had an orchestra. They actually used an orchestra. Because back in those days, they kind of simplified it, but they had like a full.
And I noticed that too with the theme song there. But I did like it though. I mean, it just took a little getting used to, you know.
Well, kind of like what they remember the Star Trek movie that came out with J.J. Abrams. Is at the end of the movie they played the actual theme of the Star Trek from the original series.
Yeah.
But they kind of lifted it up and emphasized just how great.
Space, you know?
And like they did a really good job because the original series was like it's just some one lady who's going. Oh,
I know. Yeah.
And then in this one it was very much like very like
cinematic,
very good, very loud and very just
like
booming with everything. And so another suggestion is if you get a chance, you should actually watch Superman Returns.
I did see Superman Returns.
I didn't like it. It bored me.
No, I'm saying about the music. They redid the music of the Superman series, and the intro music was so amazing.
Yes, it was.
It was a great. But too bad the rest of it was like, they're continuing on the whole kind of like Superman and Superman 2 from the original Richard Donner
yeah,
series?
Donner,
yeah.
What Richard Donner series? Superman.
He did Superman 1 and 2 with Marlon Brando as the dad and Christopher Reeves as Superman.
Christopher Reeves. Yeah.
Yeah, that was that's what Superman Returns was supposed to follow in that kind of those footsteps, and then they completely disregarded those for the new Man of Steel, where it was very much like I'm gritty.
Yeah. Superman Returns bored me. There was no action. It bored me.
Yeah. Well, he was just trying to make a comeback, I think.
It just bored me.
Making a comeback. You know, he was gone for 5 years, and Lois Lane moved on without him and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because I have the old Superman on DVD from 1978 with Christopher Reeve. You know, dun da 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 da, where he fights Lex Luthor. It was played by who played Lex?
Gene Hackman.
Yeah. I liked those movies.
Gene Hackman turned 90 this last month.
I didn't even know that.
I read that. I did.
I was like, wow, he was really that old, isn't he?
He is.
But yeah, Gene Hackman's been retired from acting for a while now. Because there's like an interview with Clint Eastwood because he was talking about Gene Hackman's role in Unforgiven, that Western movie that Clint Eastwood waited for like 20 years to play the old man in the Unforgiven movie.
Yeah.
And he said that working with Gene Hackman is very tricky.
Really?
Yeah, the Gene Hackman had a reputation of being a very somewhat difficult actor to work with.
Well, they say some of those difficult people are some of the best.
Oh
actors,
yeah,
you know, when you get on the.
And like even Sam Raimi had because the Quick and the Dead, the one with the Sharon Stone as like the female who was trying to kill Gene Hackman in that series. That was a weird kind of kooky movie. But I really liked it overall because it had Russell Crowe, you had Sharon Stone, you had Leonardo DiCaprio, and you had Gene Hackman.
Wow.
The Quick and the Dead. Yeah. You have such a large cast of characters because Leonardo DiCaprio was just like the dumb young kid that just like he's just a cute face to look at. Dead.
It's amazing. 90 years old. Yeah, Gene Hackman just turned 90.
Amazing. A lot of movies I've seen and a lot I've never seen and never will.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think will be his best movie?
Gene Hackman?
Yeah.
Oh God.
The fascinating misadventures of Mr. Washing Machine, where he plays a voiceover with a dancing washing machine.
I think what is it that the French Connection?
Yes.
I think that's
what I was thinking of because that was his like.
that's probably going to be his best film, French Connection.
Yeah. He also did a movie with Will Smith.
Really?
Enemy of the State.
Oh.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
He did a fairly good job in that movie, from what I hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of like Will Smith at his like when he was really just like in post Independence Day, trying to be his big kind of like acting movies.
Yeah.
Because he dabbled in like big acting movies for a couple times. Like he'd go back, but then he'd always go back to those kind of like blockbuster kind of movies where he goes like, woo!
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, Will Smith to me is always King Midas. Every movie that guy's ever done was a hit.
Yeah, it really was.
If you
Yeah,
think about
I
it.
didn't care for Independence Day. I saw it in the theater. It bored me.
Are you talking about the new one or the old one?
The old one, Independence Day. It bored me.
Yeah. I don't blame you.
Yeah.
I was a kid, and I was bored from it when I watched it the first time.
Yeah, I was just bored.
Yeah, but I did like the speech, the president's speech. It was like, we celebrate our Independence Day.
Yeah.
That was honestly, that was like the greatest speech in cinema history. Honestly, they did such a great job. They're just like,
Yeah.
where are the aliens at our doors?
Yeah.
It's pretty
Yeah,
great.
but yeah, Will Smith, he's just an amazing actor. He's King Midas to me in Hollywood. I've always thought that about Will Smith.
Yeah. Did you ever like the Alien movies with Sigourney Weaver from the 70s? I love them. I have them.
Yeah, Aliens.
Aliens and Alien 3.
I mean, Alien 3 was very much like a call to back in the first one. Because Aliens was so big.
Yeah.
It's like, you can't really follow Aliens with anything.
No, you can't.
Because James Cameron, like, he just blew up the Alien franchise.
Yeah.
And then they came out with Alien 3, and it's like, you probably could have done something a little bit better rather than an alien coming from a dog.
I liked it. It was something new. I liked it being something new.
It was different, yes. But on the scale of how they did Aliens was just not...
Yeah, I still loved it. I didn't like Alien 4 Resurrection. It didn't make any sense to me.
It was so dumb.
It was so stupid. I couldn't stand it. But I love...
It's a clone
I know.
of Sigourney Weaver, but then the alien clone could have a womb so they could have a natural birth. No chest busters, so whatever.
That doesn't make any sense.
The
Yeah. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. It was terrible.
But the alien effects were really well done.
They were done,
It
yes.
is so good. The alien looked so beautiful. Like, it was so shiny and all the, like, the slobber and everything. It looked so solid, Aliens. And some of the CGI underwater. Like,
that was
really
good, yeah.
well done. Yeah, they did a good job with that. And then, of course, Ridley Scott came back with the Covenant movie.
I loved Covenant. I have it on DVD.
I thought it was really boring.
It was... Are we thinking about the same movies where they go on that planet and they get infected by those spores and that kind of thing? And the aliens and...
No, that was God, it was Prometheus.
No, I didn't like Prometheus.
Yeah.
That bored me.
Covenant
I loved.
Yeah, because they had the aliens and it was like the white aliens.
The white aliens? No, I didn't.
No, it was because that was Covenant when they're on the planet and their spores infected them and it burst out of their chest or their neck.
That was Covenant. I loved that.
Yeah, and then of course then the one guy tricked the other guy into having the original chest burster, which they had the darker like the black alien compared to those two white ones.
Yeah, I loved Alien Covenant.
Yeah.
You didn't like it? It bored you? I loved it. I thought it was hard.
I thought it was okay. I was very critical of Michael Fassbender, the robot guy. I guess he played really well with his counterpart, Michael Fassbender. They really act well together. The same actor.
Well, guys, on that note, we're running out of time, and I wanted to show this spaceship Enterprise here.
Thanks, Leon.
Right here. Can you see? Yeah. There you go, Emmett. Show that real quick there. Enterprise.
Oh, oops. Let's see.
I think that's the Enterprise, right?
Yes. The space shuttle.
Space shuttle, yeah.
Beautiful.
Space shuttle, Enterprise, yeah.
Beautiful.
Well, Emmett, you got any final words? Because we're out of time.
Yes. Something fascinating, but it was based on something fascinating that happened near where I live. You see, someone next door in a condominium or someone was getting some sort of, you know where it is, those trucks that they have plumbing and heating and type of thing. I can't remember, but they had 3 trucks because they were trying to put in some sort of boiler or something. But 3 rotor type plumbing and heating trucks across the street all at one time, and it was fascinating. I was going 3 at one time, and there were a bunch of workers, and even one kind of pulled into the driveway, and I said, "It's coming over to my place to say hello, hello." I was laughing and going, So
Scott,
there were here's the joke. There were these 3 rotor type trucks, plumbing and heating, and it was very fascinating. And they were all on the same street. Isn't that surreal? Then this one washing machine came along and said, "Oh, I can't see around that." What do you think?
Without an Emmett joke at the end of the show, what would be to say?
I'm
Scott,
leaving.
you got any final words?
No, fine.
All right. Well, thanks for sitting there with us, Scott. I am Asaph Adonai, and affectionately on our left, our aging rocker Emmett. So, thanks for doing the show. And our next show is going to be season 19.
Fascinating.
Season 19, every 15 episodes.